The doors of your car will close automatically. Please keep your head and arms inside and remain seated at all times. And please, no smoking. Thank you.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Hey there, Mountaineers. Welcome to episode 42 of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm Alex the Historian.
And today we have an amazing episode planned for you guys. We hope you all enjoy this episode. But before we get started, I do want to make a small little announcement. I'm going out of town next weekend, so there will be no stream on Saturday, but there will be a stream on Wednesday. Same time as always, 7:30 Mountain Standard Time on Wednesday. What is the date of Wednesday? The 27th. No, the 27th. So yeah, no stream next Saturday, but the stream will be moved to the 27th, which is a Wednesday, at of course the same time, 7:30. So yeah, I hope you guys can tune into that. We're not sure how many people are going to be able to make it to that, but that's okay. Oh, excuse me. But anyways, we do have an amazing show planned for you guys. We hope you all are having an amazing Saturday and an amazing week. Alex, how has your week been going so far?
It's been going really well. It went really fast, though. I mean, I swear, it's like before I knew it, it was Saturday again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally understand, but I don't know if I should make this like a meme on my channel, but I do have another Snapple today. And I was just telling before we started the show how I went to Pickwick last night to try and buy a Snapple for my friend and I, and they only sold a quart, which is like this big of Snapple, and it's like, who in the right mind would drink an entire quart? I don't even remember if it was a quart. I had the bottle just in my hand. But yeah, it was a lot of Snapple. I drank it all. But yeah, hello Fire Friend, hello Sam, Amelia, Luis, everybody else who is watching. Oh my goodness, I cannot talk. We hope you enjoy today's episode, and let's go ahead and get things started with This Week in Disney News. This Week in News. This first piece of news really saddens me. World of Color will not be returning till late 2018. Apparently there was some sort of malfunction or something got messed up with the platforms out on the lagoon, the Paradise, or I guess I should say Pixar Pier lagoon. But World of Color will not be returning until late 2018. And this next piece of news, we're going to be getting into a little bit more detail for our first topic. Disney ups the Fox bid to $71.3 billion. That is a lot of money. It topped Comcast's last offer, so hopefully all that goes through smoothly, and again, we'll be talking about that in just a few minutes. And the last piece of Disney news, the new Incredibles float has debuted for Paint the Night. I have not seen it personally. I think I'm gonna wait till I get to see the Paint the Night till I get so I can experience it in person. But yeah, the new Incredibles Paint the Night float has debuted just the other day in honor of Pixar Pier's opening, which we will be talking about later on in the show. But yeah, I do want to mention right off the bat, if you guys watching have any ghost stories, we're going to be telling a little bit, or I guess Alex is going to tell maybe one or two ghost stories later on at the end of the show. And I do have one other story that someone from my Discord sent in. Oh god, I feel so embarrassed. I cannot remember his name. Wise Fiend. Oh, he's actually here today. Hello. I just realized I missaid your name. Not Wise Friend, Wise Fiend. He graciously sent in a tale of his own. I've not read it yet. I'm waiting to read it right on stream for my fresh reaction. It's probably not going to be that crazy like the movies you see, but yeah. If you guys happen to have any ghost stories, type them in the chat or send them to me on Discord if you're a member of my Discord. If you're not, link is not in the description at the moment, but it will be in the description in just a few moments. yeah, ghost stories, just because, like I said, I'm going out of town to San Diego. I'm going to be visiting Hotel del Coronado and maybe a lot of other haunted places in San Diego. I'm going to be making a couple... oh my gosh, I'm talking so fast, I'm fumbling over my words. I'm going to be making a couple vlogs out there just to sort of test the waters to see how many of you are willing to watch vlogs when it comes time for me to go down to Disney, because like I said, I do plan on making vlogs when I go to Disneyland. But yeah, moving on to our first topic, our first piece of business for today's episode. Like we mentioned just a few minutes ago, Disney did raise their bid to Fox. Sam says I would love a Matterhorn vlog. Thank you. Disney did raise their bid to buy 20th or 21st Century Fox to $71.3 billion. And I do want to apologize right off the bat for this Wednesday's video, or I guess last Wednesday's video. Right as that video got published, all these articles started popping up about how Disney upped their bid from whatever it was, $50 billion, I believe, to $71 billion. So that video has not aged very well. So I do apologize for that. Hopefully when I publish the next video for Wednesday, nothing catastrophic will happen like that again. But yeah, like I said, Disney is really, or it seems like they're really intent on buying 21st Century Fox. If you want a quick recap of everything that's been going on the past couple weeks for when it comes to 20th Century Fox, Comcast, Walt Disney Company, all that stuff, you can go check out last week's podcast, because Alex and I did go in depth and explain the whole timeline of everything that was going on. Oh my gosh, I am getting a very long ghost story from Avery in the Discord. Thank you for that. I will definitely read that. I should probably copy and paste it somewhere so I don't forget. But yeah, Comcast. I'm not entirely sure if Comcast is going to respond with a new bid or if they're gonna just let this be, because $71 billion is a lot of money, and Comcast had originally put up $60 billion, but then raised their bid to $65 billion. So, and then Disney went ahead and raised it from $52.4 billion to $71.3, which is $38 a share. Now, it is my understanding that Disney is still paying, or is still going to pay Fox, mostly in stocks, Disney shares, all that stuff. But it is also my understanding that they're also putting in some cash, or at least some other form of, I guess, goodies to sort of entice Fox into choosing Disney over Comcast. But, yeah. Apparently, according to this Bloomberg article, which I will copy and paste in the description for you guys, Bloomberg, reading down here at the bottom, you have 9 free articles remaining. Subscribe for unlimited access. I guess I have to pay a subscription fee to this website to be able to read their articles. It's kind of interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, not sure if Comcast is going to respond. But Alex, what are your thoughts on Disney upping their bid to $71.3 billion to try and get Fox?
They must really want it. I mean, it's like there's a lot that Fox has underneath their umbrella there. And so I think that Disney is really showing people that, hey, we really want this company. We really want what they have. And they want it so much that they want it more than Comcast, apparently. I mean, I myself last week was like, I don't know if what 21st Century Fox has is what Disney really needs, but at the same time, then they have this ability to, if they get Fox, to expand their movie base and even add on some things to their proposed streaming service that they want to do in the future. So it's interesting how this is playing out, and I'm almost kind of hoping Disney kind of gets gets Fox now, so that way I can see what they really do with it.
Yeah, me too. I'm really happy that Disney did end up outbidding Fox. I wasn't really sure if they were going to, just because $65 billion is a lot of money. And I also wasn't sure if Fox was going to end up siding with Disney like they currently are, since Comcast's bids were all cash. But it is my understanding that Comcast is more interested in the Sky network, which is, I believe it's like a series of TV channels all throughout I believe it's the UK, not 100% sure. But yeah, like we mentioned in the past podcast, we've talked about the Disney Fox deal. Disney really wants Fox mainly for their streaming service, which is launching sometime in 2019. They have not released a concrete date on that, but they do really want to outdo all the competition, whether it be Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, whatever that's called. They want to have all of the great content all in one place, because imagine a streaming service, and I do believe Bob Iger said that the streaming service was going to be on the cheaper end, so I'm guessing maybe like $10 a month, $15 a month, or maybe even $8 a month, I'm not sure. But imagine a Disney streaming service that costs $10 a month, where it has all Disney movies, every single Disney movie, every single Pixar movie, every single Star Wars movie, every single Marvel movie, and now every single movie that Fox has released under their distribution. I would pay. That seems like it'd be worth a lot more than $10. But $10 is not the official. That's just a number I came up in my head. But that seems like a very enticing offer to, if maybe like a family is trying to choose between Netflix or Hulu or the new Disney streaming service. I think I'd go with the Disney streaming service, just because they have announced that they're going to be making original content for the streaming service, as well as have their old content sort of cataloged in the streaming service. I believe there's going to be a Star Wars TV show that is, it might already be in production for the new Disney streaming service, but Bryce says they're going to charge $19.99 a month. That's a little out of my price range per month. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe Bob Iger said that it would be on the cheaper end. I don't really know what that means. Cheap in Disney's terms could mean $19.99 a month, but it could also mean $10 a month. I'd be totally fine if it was $10 a month. But yeah, links to the article.
Interested.
I'll go ahead.
I'm interested to see if Comcast ups the bid, and then how much Disney is willing to keep, raising the price tag.
Yeah.
I wonder how far they'll go.
Well, there is a little, I guess it's like a bubble. I don't really know what this image is that I'm looking at, but if you go down in the description, everybody, to the Bloomberg article, there is a little, I guess infographic is the right word, showing the market value for both Disney and Comcast at the time of the article's publishing. And the market value for Disney is $159.4 billion, while Comcast is $151 billion. So it seems, based off their market values, that Disney can maybe go or up another Comcast bid, whether it be for like $90 billion. I'm sure Disney would be able to top it just because of how much their market value is. Come to think of it, I have no idea what market value is. I'm assuming it's the value that people would be willing to pay on the market. I mentioned last week, I don't know much about the business side of any of this. This is just sort of our opinion of like an outsider, of like a Disney fan looking in on this from the outside with no real knowledge of how any of this works. It's just really interesting to us to see this sort of it's become like a war almost between Comcast and Disney trying to buy out 21st Century Fox. But yeah, really interesting stuff. I promised last week that we'd update you guys if any new information surfaced about the Fox deal, and I'm going to make that promise again. if sometime this week between now and Thursday, there is another article that gets published on Bloomberg regarding any more updates, or on any other website for that matter, oh, excuse me, we will be sure to update you, and if not next week, we will update you the week after. Bryce says, market value is the perceived value of the entire company. That makes a lot more sense than what I was trying to explain. But yeah, so that's that for the Fox, Disney, Fox, Comcast war that's been going on. We definitely want to hear what you guys think about that. Type in chat, type in the comments down below what you think. Alex, any last thoughts on the Fox, Disney, Comcast war that is going on?
I hope that if Disney gets 21st Century Fox, that we see an Aliens ride somewhere in the Disney resorts.
That does sound like an awesome idea. I would really enjoy an Aliens themed ride in maybe like Hollywood Studios, or imagine an Aliens ride in Disneyland. That'd be crazy. But moving on to the most controversial topic of the century, the opening of Pixar Pier was today at the time of this recording. Saturday the 23rd, Pixar Pier opened. I found this amazing image by Jenkins on Twitter. Link will be in the description. He makes really funny photoshops like this of like Walt in front of just like any new thing that opens at Disney. It's hard to really describe what kind of photoshops he makes. But yeah, Pixar Pier. We're gonna be going over our overall thoughts on the whole land, and we're also gonna be giving some of what we think. How am I trying to word this? We're gonna be saying what we like about Pixar Pier and what we don't like about Pixar Pier. Just because there have been so many mixed reactions to this new land's opening, we want to sort of not make it as negative as the past episodes on Pixar Pier have been. We want to sort of say some positive things about it too, not just say that it's tacky, that it's cheap, that it's awful, but those are words that I would use to describe Pixar Pier. But now, I'm not sure how many of you have seen pictures or videos or just any kind of media about Pixar Pier. If you have not, I will be providing these lovely images from Twitter. These first set of images are from the Disney food blog, so big shout out to them for taking these amazing pictures. Now, I guess I could say my overall reaction to Pixar Pier. Well, I guess I should preface this by saying I was hoping that I would be pleasantly surprised by everything that's been changed in Pixar Pier, just like how I was with Mission Breakout, because I was one of the big naysayers when it came to replacing the Tower of Terror with Mission Breakout. But once I rode it, once I experienced it for myself, I do believe that it is a decent attraction, that it is, in my opinion, better than the Tower of Terror. But of course, nothing can really beat the Tower of Terror. But I guess Mission Breakout is a close tie with Tower of Terror in terms of the ride experience, but the exterior is still really, really ugly. I don't know why they decided to make it the way it looks. It just really baffles me. But yeah, like I said, I was hoping to be pleasantly surprised with everything in Pixar Pier, and for the most part, okay, so I don't want to give my what I like, what I don't like just yet. I want to sort of just say what I feel right now. So I do think Pixar Pier is not a good overlay, but I do think Disney could have done a lot worse when it comes to overlaying a land within like however many, like 6 months, maybe more, maybe less, I can't remember. But yeah, I do think Disney could have done a lot worse when it came to retheming Paradise Pier to Pixar. But Alex, what are your overall, I guess, first impressions on how Pixar Pier turned out.
It's pretty much what I expected, because after seeing all the concept art and the models and things like that, it's turned out exactly as they said it would turn out. So I'll give them that. At least they stuck to their plan, and it came out exactly as they planned it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very true. It does very much stick to the concept art that was released, but I guess now we can sort of get into what we like, what we don't like. Let's start off with, I don't know which one to start off with. Let's start off with what we like about Pixar Pier. I'll go first. I do very much like the, I guess, like the sort of mid-century architectural style. Well, I guess you could say that it already was mid-century architectural-ish, but there is this one image that I have that I do think this looks good. I think it looks okay. The Pixar Pier entrance sign, the blue colors, the reds, they really do mix well together and form an actual decent color palette. And the Pixar ball, Luxo ball, I think that's what it's called. Well, I guess you could say the thing about Pixar Pier is that it's really... how am I trying to word this? Some elements of it are decently done, like this image I'm showing you here. Lamplight Lounge does look really good in my opinion. I do like the way they've redone the interior with the bricks. I'm not really sure if it looked like that originally, but from these images that I've seen, I do think the Lamplight Lounge looks decent. I mean, I love bricks on the interior. That really does look amazing. And this image, like I said, this does look decent in my opinion, but there are some other parts of Pixar Pier that are very, very cheaply done. But we'll get to that later in the show. I am a big fan of these new posters. Oh gosh, I'm just gonna call them posters because I can't remember the name for them. These new sort of posters that they have along the entrance of the land. The Coco one is especially my favorite. Coco is an amazing movie, and it is very beautifully painted. I don't know if it's painted or if it's billboards. Thank you, Bryce. That is the word I'm looking for. Mustard. That's not the word I'm looking for. Yeah, I do love the way these billboards look. There are, I believe, like 2 or 3 more that I don't have pictured here. But this is nice. This is kind of cute looking. The Coco one is amazing. And when it comes to the Incredicoaster, which is probably the most controversial part of the entire makeover of Pixar Pier, I do like the way they've redone the queue. I think it looks nice. Because with the original California Screamin' queue, there wasn't really much to it. It was just sort of metal awnings, but this is unfortunately the only picture I have of the Incredicoaster. But this entrance sign, I do enjoy the artwork that they've produced from the Incredibles film. You seem hesitant to call it nice. I'm giving my opinion. I do think it looks nice. I do think that parts of Pixar Pier look nice, but then we'll get to the negatives after we go to Alex. Alex, what do you like about Pixar Pier?
First off, let me just say this is really difficult for me to say because because I have such a disdain for Pixar Pier.
Mm-hmm.
I think the colors are nice.
Mm-hmm.
they're definitely eye-catching, and they kept the trees, which is nice. The billboards look cute. Yeah, those are cool. Yeah. It's hard for me to say because I still don't really like it all that much. I have to admit. I can't lie. It's a mishmash of things that are just put together and don't really make sense together, and it's just, I don't know. But I will say that at night it lights up pretty nicely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was one thing I forgot to mention. It does look nice at night, but that's sort of the thing when it comes to Pixar Pier looking good at night versus looking good in the daytime. I feel like it should look good both ways, not just at night. I guess we can sort of move into what we don't like about Pixar Pier. Now, let's start with the Incredicoaster. I was, like I said when we started talking about this, I was hoping to be pleasantly surprised with the Incredicoaster, and to an extent I was. The queue seems, from what I've seen, the queue seems decent, the queue seems nice. Like I said, this artwork right here, I really, really love. I don't know what kind of style that artwork is called, but I do really, really love that style of artwork, especially with the Incredibles. It looks amazing. But when it comes to the Incredicoaster, I was not pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly... What's the opposite of surprised? I was pleasantly unsurprised, I guess would be the word I'm looking for. I was hoping... Art Deco, says Avery. I love Art Deco so much. Yes, thank you for bringing that word back into my brain. But what was I saying? Disappointed is another word. I was pleasantly disappointed is the words I'm looking for. I do think, like I said, the queue of the Incredicoaster is nice. It's decent. It's passable, I guess you could say. But the ride itself, I don't like the Incredicoaster. I think it was fine before they tried to shove in a story into a roller coaster, and that's not saying that you can't put a story into any sort of roller coaster or thrill ride, because it's obvious that Disney can do that. It's not a roller coaster, but it is sort of a thrill ride mixed with a dark ride. The Indiana Jones Adventure is probably not a very good example, but it's just the first one that popped into my head. And like we've mentioned before, it's really hard to put a story into a roller coaster just because of how fast the audience is moving. You don't really have a lot of time to sort of look around and pay attention to anything. Bryce said Everest Story. That is a very good example of storytelling during a roller coaster. And I guess you could say the Space Mountain at Disneyland Paris. Before, I think it's right now it's the Star Wars overlay, but before it was the Star Wars overlay, I think you could say that has a decent story. But those are really not... Rock and Roller Coaster, I guess, is another example. But compared to the Incredicoaster, I do not like the Incredicoaster at all. I guess I should say what I don't like about the Incredicoaster. I wish the animatronics, or lack thereof animatronics, the story they've decided to go with for the Incredicoaster is, I guess Edna is supposed to babysit baby Jack, but he escapes, and so the story of the Incredicoaster is told inside of the scream tubes that were previously not enclosed until Disney enclosed them during the construction, so they could add the, I guess, props and the lighting effects to try and tell the story to the audience. But yeah, that's the basic story of the ride, and it really disappointed me at how cheaply it was done. And I mean, I understand that Disney had to do this within a very short time frame, but I still feel like why not just extend the time frame to do something better with the attraction? Because what we ended up with is Screamin' with a new soundtrack, a new amazing soundtrack, and a couple of the wax figures of the Incredibles just standing there, not really doing anything. So it's sort of like the same ride if you just close your eyes and put the Screamin' soundtrack on in a pair of earbuds. It's really nothing different. I'm trying to think of something positive to say besides the queue, but yeah, the Incredicoaster. I'm not even sure if the Incredicoaster is finished completely, because I did see on Twitter, someone I follow said that they were supposed to add later on, I think later on in the year, another scene at the very end of the ride with screens or something. I'm not 100% sure. I just skimmed the tweet, but yeah, I'm not even sure if it's 100% finished or not. I mean, the land, I guess it was pretty rushed, but moving on from the Incredicoaster. Oh, this is the original point I was going to say. I don't know how I got so off topic, but the Incredicoaster does look like doo-doo during the daytime, but it does look okay during the nighttime. Because during the daytime, you can hardly see some of the special effects, special in quotation marks, special effects that are going on inside the scream tubes. With like the fire and Violet's force field, and the lasers or whatever that is supposed to be Dash dodging the lasers, I guess. It does look better at night, but I just wish that Disney would have done a better job, I guess, to make it look as good in the daytime and not just at night, because why even ride it during the daytime if you know it looks bad during the daytime when you can ride it at night, when you know it's going to look like 50 times better at night? It's just doesn't really make sense in my mind. Now, I did mention that I was a fan of the architectural style that Disney decided to go with for Pixar Pier. Like, of course, this is just a meme, but I do really like the way that this entrance sign looks. I think it looks okay. It looks pretty. But then you get to things like this, poultry place. What are you thinking, Disney? We've said this the last time we talked about Pixar Pier. It's just it's an abomination. It really is. I mean, granted, you do get your food in these cute little box McDonald's Happy Meal sort of box carrier thing, but it's just the building is just so ugly. I cannot get over how ugly the building is. And Senor Buzz, Churros, whatever it's called, that is just another abomination that I really do not like about Pixar Pier. Sam said poultry place looks like a Six Flags thing. It does look like a Six Flags thing. And adorable snowman frosted treats. It's like, I don't understand. Is Pixar Pier trying to be ironic but just falling flat on its face? I just don't understand. I mean, at least adorable snowman whatever is better looking than this monster. This is really what haunts me at night. That image of the chicken right there. I see that in my nightmares. I'm not even joking. But yeah, it's not the adorable snowman. Frosted treats is not as bad as that. But Sam said the coleslaw looks dry. How can you tell that from looking at a picture? I guess I've never...
It does look dry.
I've never actually eaten coleslaw, but I mean, I guess that'd prove why. By the way, did you guys ever learn about what was it? Murphy's Law in elementary, or I guess in like high school. I don't know why I was thinking about this earlier. My sister was asking me a question about Murphy's Law, and I was trying to remember what Murphy's Law was, and then something rang in my head. Oh, hey, have you ever heard of his friend, Murphy's close friend, Cole? He sort of worked in the same area of science as Murphy did, and oh my god. And I asked my sister if she's ever heard of Cole's Law. I butchered that joke really bad. It's supposed to be a coleslaw joke. But anyways. we're just gonna pretend everybody laughed to that joke. And I guess another thing I really dislike, I can hear Alex trying to hold back laughter from behind his mic. I can tell. But another thing I really do dislike about Pixar Pier is not even finished, and they're grand opening it today, or I guess a couple days ago when this episode drops. It already had its grand opening, and 2 of the attractions that are supposed to be in the land are not even open yet. Jesse's Critter Carousel, they do have this neat, oh hey, that's kind of cute, Al's Toy Barn pre-order sign, ship date 2019, shipped to Pixar Pier, Anaheim, California. Sam, it's coleslaw. Yeah, I butchered that joke very badly. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, how do you butcher coleslaw? It's not meat. Oh, Bryce, you silly boy, you. But I guess you could call this pre-order sign. It's kind of cute, but at the end of the day, the attraction, like I said, the land already had its grand opening, and 2 of the attractions that are supposed to be in the land are not in the land until a year later. That just, I don't understand what is happening with that. Same with the, let me get to the picture, the new Inside Out spinner attraction, and I'm very, very disappointed they did not name the spinner attraction the mood swings. That is sort of, I don't understand why Disney wouldn't have gone for that pun, but this sort of confirms this piece of concept art. It sort of confirms that it's going to be a repurpose of Flick's flyers from, I think that's what it's called, at least, from A Bug's Land that is soon to be closed, soon to be long forgotten, but not long missed. I don't know. I'm just trying to be funny.
Does anyone know if Flick's Flyers is still in Bug's Land, or if they took it out yet to redecorate it?
I think it's still there, because I'm pretty sure the land doesn't close until later this summer. So, but I mean, I haven't seen any pictures of A Bug's Land recently, so it could already be gone, plucked out of the land. Sam says it's gone, he thinks, but yeah. So, I mean, like I said earlier, 2 of the attractions that are supposed to be in Pixar Pier are not there, even though it's already had its grand opening. And it sort of begs the question, why even retheme it if a Bug's Life is Pixar? Why retheme it to Inside Out if A Bug's Life is already Pixar? Oh, Sam said it's still open. He just Googled it. He said never mind. So, but yeah, why even retheme it? I mean, sure, I guess this looks nicer than the mud. I'm trying to remember what Flick's Flyers looked like. The only thing I can think of in my mind is that it looks like sticks and mud sort of glued together to look like boxes. Oh, excuse me.
No, it's, okay, you see the concept art for the Inside Out thing, and you see how the boxes are attached to those mood ball things, those memory ball things. Well, in Flick's Flyers, those ball things are walnuts.
Oh.
And yeah, and then there's a little snack box that is attached to the walnut.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now I remember. I don't know what I was thinking of before, but people are saying, because people love Inside Out, after I mentioned why retheme it to Inside Out, even though A Bug's Life is already Pixar. But I guess Inside Out is way more popular than A Bug's Life. But yeah, just another repurposed attraction that will soon make its way over to California Adventures Dark Space. Alex, what don't you like about Pixar Pier?
First and foremost, I don't like that they opened it without it being finished. You see, that's a very non-Walt Disney thing to do.
Yeah.
true, you could argue that Disneyland itself was open without it being finished, but I mean, technically, technically, it was as open as they could get it. But you see, Walt Disney had this rule, and it was like, don't let people see the show until everything, until everything is finished. There's a reason why, when Pirates of the Caribbean is closed, that the Blue Bayou is not open either. It's so that way people don't see this big empty ride with nothing happening in it. So it's like the very fact that they opened Pixar Pier without it being fully finished is just lazy. It's just, so that's the first thing. But anywho, so I wanted to talk about the Incredicoaster, which I think is okay. Well, I guess it's the biggest, most fantastic attraction on Pixar Pier. So it's kind of like the flagship ride for Pixar Pier. And the thing about it is that I wondered, like, why did they choose the storyline that they were like going after Jack Jack? Yeah. Like, I thought like they would try to make the coaster make sense. Like, like let me explain that. I know that sounded really harsh, but let me explain that. Like why people would be on the coaster to begin with. Like what are you doing when you're on the coaster? It doesn't really make any sense. I mean, are you one of the Incredibles, or are you following them, or what? So, I mean, I would have thought like, okay, like here's an example of something I would have done to the Incredicoaster. If it had to be the Incredibles, then I'd say, okay, it's going to be a battle between the Incredibles and that big robot thing that they battled with in the first movie. And so what is the coaster? Well, you're actually in the position of what's his name, Frozone, and and the entire white coaster is Frozone's ice as he's going around. So, because you know how he creates that little ice track for himself to skate on as he goes around fighting the monster. So maybe the whole coaster is his like ice track, and and the coaster itself is like the coaster ride vehicle itself is like Frozone, and and then every twist and turn you make is because you're going around the big robot monster and stuff and battling with him and stuff like that. So like, at least that would kind of like make the coaster make sense as to like why it's there and what you're doing and stuff like that. But instead this is like, oh, go catch the baby. Yeah. And there's a lot of things about the coaster I don't like. For instance, how everything does not look good during the daytime is the main thing. Like that's, Disney rides should look good both during the day and at night. The other thing too is they have what everyone's now calling the Jack Jack kebabs, which
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, which is basically Jack Jack on a stick. And as you're like going up and down over the roller coaster, you see him just floating on this stick, and he's, and at nighttime they light him up with little flashes of light, but that's all they do. Anyway, that looks awkward and weird. And I don't know. I can't say enough terrible things about this ride. It just falls flat, I think, and it doesn't really make any sense. Oh, you got video of the Jack Jack kebabs. So, it's just really strange. It doesn't look right, and I don't know. It's just anyway. So moving on, they had this, like, the original Paradise Pier had this really great Victorian architecture, which Disney removed some of it to make way for the new architecture of Pixar Pier, which I think was really sad because it looked really nice before, and now it just looks, in my opinion, not very good. There's also, like we talked about, that chicken palace, or what is it?
The Chicken Nightmare? I can't remember. Poultry Place, that's what it's called.
Poultry Palace.
Mm.
Anyway, that looks really terrible. Anyway, there's just a whole bunch of stuff that I could go on and just say, like, it looks really terrible. But I mean, I don't know. I'm never going there. I have no reason to go to Pixar Pier. So, I'm gonna stay away.
I mean, I'll go, of course, just to experience the whole thing, but I do agree with Alex. Why open the land when it's not finished? It's like I mentioned earlier, this ride is supposed to be there, but it's not for another year. The Jesse's Critter Carousel Catastrophe, whatever it's called, is supposed to be there. I think that actually got delayed, but it's supposed to be there, but it's not there. Just wait another 2 or 3 months to open the land until everything's finished. I'm sure it can't take too long to paint these spheres rainbow colors and to get all this set up. I mean, I don't really know much about Imagineering, but well, I guess Amelia said they opened it so early to get the summer crowds and to go along with the release of Incredibles 2. Synergy, everybody. Just like with the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, I believe that opened a week or so after the release of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But one thing I did forget to mention is that from the original concept art of Pixar Pier, of the Inside Out ride, compared to the recent one that was released, I believe it was released yesterday at the time of this recording. It does look drastically different compared to what the original piece of concept art like. It does look like the budget was cut a little bit, which is kind of sad. I mean, I guess you could say the budget for the entire land was cut because it's so bad. But like I said, things like the Lamplight Lounge, the architecture, this sign, it looks nice, but it's just really sad to see stuff like this wasted on Pixar Pier. And the little details like this are nice too, but you can't really give it points for that just because it's so easy to do that kind of stuff, to put in these little details that will appreciate all the Pixar, I don't want to use the word fanboys, the Pixar people that really love the Pixar movies. And the Pixar Promenade, I think I'm saying that right, something like that. That looks nice too. Like, I'm sure it looks better at night with all these lights. Yeah, I think those are lights. With all these lights lit up and with a nice jazz band playing right there. But I mean, and like I said, it's so sad to see this wasted on Pixar Pier. Oh, excuse me. I have the hiccups.
And what else bothers me?
What?
Is that Mickey's face is still on the Pixar Power Round.
Yeah, I forgot to even mention that.
Like, they couldn't have found a Pixar character that would look really cool. Like, Rex from Toy Story would look really cool on that carousel.
Mm-hmm.
Or something, but they kept Mickey there. And it doesn't make sense.
I think, this is just my theory, I think the reason that they kept Mickey on the carousel is because it's sort of like a projection screen for World of Color, and I didn't think they'd wanna, I guess, if they did end up changing it to Rex or to the Luxo Ball or to Mike Wazowski or whatever, I believe it's because they didn't want to, I guess, have to remap the projections to project onto a new surface. So that is my theory as to why they kept the kept Mickey's face on the fun wheel, or Pal Around. Pal Around is such a dumb name too. Like, who came up with that name? I want to punch whoever came up with that name. Like, really, it's such a terrible name. And even there's this image on Twitter of the like the little sign where all the wait times are in Buena Vista Street. They misspelled Pixar Pal Around. They spelled it PAL-A-AROUND. And they had to like scratch out the extra A. It looks super awkward because there's just a big space between the dash and the O. And it's like, what? How can you mess that up? It's the smallest of the easiest thing. How can you mess that up? It's just, it makes me laugh. It really does. This is amazing. I love talking about this. I love experiencing this kind of stuff because it's so dumb. Pixar Pal Around. What kind of a name is that? I'm sorry, it's just a terrible name. But let's see. Yeah, like this stained glass window. I don't know if it's real stained glass. It could be just vinyl stickers, but this looks nice. The inside, like I said, looks nice of the Lamplight Lounge. The sign itself looks it looks okay. I'm not really a fan of the sort of shoehorned in Luxo lamp, I think is what it's called. But yeah, that looks nice. I do enjoy the style of architecture they went with. Well, I guess they didn't really have a choice because it was already there. It was already established in Paradise Pier. But yes, stuff like the poultry. I for some reason I thought it was Poultry Place, but Alex just pointed it out that it's Palace. I don't know how I missed the first A, but it's Poultry Palace.
You missed the A just like the guy when he spelled Pixar Pal Around.
Oh my gosh. Am I the one that made the mistake on the Pixar Pal Around? It could be. But yeah, Poultry Palace. I guess that explains why it's in like he's wearing like a helmet with like a face thing and it's like a castle. That makes a lot more sense. I was very confused. But yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I can't really give my concrete opinion because I haven't been there yet. But I'm sure my opinion will stay the same, whether or not I've been there or not. But, I mean, like I said, I could be pleasantly surprised like I was with Guardians of the Galaxy. I could ride the Incredicoaster during the day and be pleasantly surprised by how it is in person compared to how it is on video. Because I did see on Twitter that in the Scream tube where Mr. Incredible is handing Jack a cookie, that it really does smell like cookies. So I'll have to see if that's true for myself, and if it is true, then that will give the ride an extra 5 points on a scale of 500. But yeah, so I think that's gonna wrap up our discussion on Pixar Pier. I think there was something else I wanted to mention, but Alex, any closing thoughts on Pixar Pier?
No.
Perfect. Let's move away from this topic as much as we can. Now, let's sort of segue into our... It's not really a news segment. It's just for today. Unless you guys want it to be a weekly thing, we can do this weekly. But like I said in the beginning of the episode, since I am going to be making a couple vlogs about some haunted places in San Diego, hopefully I'll be making a couple vlogs about that. I wanted to see who has some spooky ghost stories. If any of you guys have any spooky ghost stories, I already have two. One from Wise Fiend and one from Avery. Alex said he'd so graciously supply with us one of his ghost stories, and then after this segment we'll get into our Words with Walt segment. But Alex, let's start with you. Why don't you share with us one of your spooky stories you have around, whether it be with Disneyland or whether it be just any time in your life. There's really no restrictions if you guys want to send in one. It doesn't have to be Disney related. But Alex, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Well, I have two stories, depending
Ooh.
on which one you want to hear. I have a Disney one, and I have a non-Disney. The non-Disney one is a lot scarier, but I don't know. Which one do you want to hear?
Which one do you guys want to hear more? The Disney one or the non-Disney one? I'd say go with the spooky one, the spookier one. But let's see what the viewers have to say. Bryce says Disney one. So far he's the only one that's said anything yet. So Amelia said Disney as well, so it looks like we're going with the Disney one, Alex, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right. So for those people who haven't heard my previous ghost stories, I used to work at a restaurant in Disneyland called the Golden Horseshoe, which is arguably one of the most haunted places in Disneyland, if not the most haunted place in Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And the Golden Horseshoe, according to cast member legend, is haunted by two different ghosts, of which in the past I have actually had experience with both ghosts. One of them is the ghost of a little girl, and the other one is the ghost of a deceased cast member. And the latter of which is more of a, I would say, not evil, but not a very pleasant entity.
Malevolent, is that maybe the right word?
Yeah, I would say malevolent spirit. Anyway, so it was often known that the storage room in the Golden Horseshoe restaurant is where this malevolent spirit resided. And once again, every cast member that works in the Golden Horseshoe knows about this. Everybody experiences something, and it's really creepy because you can talk to like a bunch of Golden Horseshoe cast members, and they'll tell you their ghost stories and things like that. But this one particular night, this ghost story is about my shift lead, and we were closing down for the night, and my shift lead decided to go upstairs into the storage room to, I think, get some extra supplies for the next day and stock up. And so she went up there and went into the storage room. And she apparently got locked in. There's a door there that has no lock, but people have been known to get locked in this little tiny room. This room has no windows, and it's only got one way out. Oh God, I knew someone was going to say that. Somebody had to say that. And so it's this dark little room that is barely 5 feet high. So you have to duck as you get in. And like I said, people get locked in there despite the fact that there is no lock on the door. And so this particular night she got locked in. And and she was missing for quite a while. And I remember the rest of us were kind of like, okay, where did she go? Like, we need to finish, closing up and whatever. And so we thought maybe she went to the break area or something, and we couldn't find her. We looked in the office, we looked everywhere, couldn't find her. And that's when a coworker of mine had said, do you hear this like shouting? And we're like, what, shouting? No. And we're standing in the restaurant listening. And then in fact, in the distance, you could hear this shouting. And it sounded like a woman screaming. And we realized it was upstairs in the storage room. And so we ran upstairs, and one of my coworkers, Veronica, she opens the first door into one of the first rooms and hears the shouting even louder in the back room. And so this room is, once again, it's all the way in the back, very small. You have to duck through a small door just to get through a small little storage room that leads to that storage room. So she was up there for quite a while, and no one even knew that, because despite her screaming, no one could hear her because she's all the way in the far corner of this building.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I was standing actually right outside of the storage room, so I didn't get to see what happened when they opened the door. But apparently when they opened the door, she was hysterical, just completely hysterical. Like we said, we didn't know how long she was up there, but when she came out, apparently some cast members had noticed that some of her clothing was a bit torn. And like her costume was torn in the back, and she was very disheveled. Like she looked like she had just been like beaten up. It was really freaky. And they walked her out of the storage room and took her downstairs past me. And all I saw really was she had red scratches on her face. And I thought that's really weird, but I thought she was like probably hysterical or something. And, after being locked in there for so long, they took her down to the office or whatever. And later on, I waited until after I was off work before I asked anybody what was going on. So my coworker Veronica had come down outside, because a bunch of us were standing around outside waiting to hear back what was going on. Apparently, our shift lead was escorted to the nurses' station over on Main Street, and then from there she was taken out in what do they call that? An ambulance. And so they escorted her off property in an ambulance. And so in any case, we had asked what was going on. So apparently what had happened was the shift lead went up there to get some things. The door slammed shut behind her and the light went out. And she thought somebody was playing a game on her or something. And she was pounding on the door and asking to get out, but no one was answering. And she realized that there couldn't have been anyone behind her, because everybody that there was supposed to be working was either downstairs, closing up, or in a different room, or, and she knew that it wasn't me because I was on the other side of the building helping close down at another place over by Riverbell Terrace. So nobody was there, and on top of that, she would have heard them walking by on this really squeaky floor, and she didn't hear anything. I mean, everyone knows how squeaky the floor is. Like, you would have heard someone walking by, but anyway, she said the door just slammed shut behind her and the light went out. And so that's when she started getting really freaked out, because she knew what room she was in. She knew she was in Freddy's room, and that it's the most haunted place in the restaurant. And so that kind of freaked her out. But then something really strange started to happen. The room, according to her, got really cold. And it gets cold often when cast members say that Freddy realizes you're in his space and he doesn't want you there. And so often the room will get cold at that point. And then after that, she started feeling scratches on her back and on her stomach and on her arms and her face. And at this point, she was pounding up on the door, screaming to get out. No one was coming for her. And I think she even managed to pass out because she said that for a while she found herself on the floor and she was unconscious apparently. So when she had woken up again, she was pounding on the door to get out. And after a few minutes of pounding on the door, finally we were there and we opened the door for her and she got out. So What they did find when they escorted her to the manager's office to get a good look at her was that she was scratched on her face and her arms and things like that. But what was even more strange that we found out actually a couple days later, because everyone was talking about this. You know, it was gossip for the next couple days, and a couple days later, maybe 2 days later, some people that had went with her to the hospital after she was escorted off property in an ambulance said that she had cuts on her back in places that she couldn't have reached with her own arms, and that she was bruised in many different places, almost as if she had been struck with something. And it didn't honestly sound like she had hurt herself, at least, you know, I mean, not on purpose, at least, because first of all, it wasn't really like her to suddenly go through this episode. You know, she was a very quiet and, you know, and peaceful kind of cast member. She was really nice, and you wouldn't have thought anything crazy about her. So I don't think she scratched herself or cut herself or bruised herself on purpose. Something must have happened to her when she was in there. And once again, it's all tied up in Freddy's room, and she is definitely not the first person to have been locked in that room, but she was the first person to have gone through that much while being locked in that room. So anyway, so that's kind of my story on that, and ever since then that's become one of the stories that we kind of all talk to each other about. Was like, oh my gosh, do you remember that time that, you know, that she was locked in there and whatever? And she never spoke of it afterwards. She did not speak to anybody about it. And I remember when a coworker asked her, what happened to you that night when you were in that room? And she just simply said, like, I'm not talking to you about it. It's none of your business. And so, yeah, so it was pretty weird. So, yeah, so anyway, we all knew to stay clear of that room. We usually packed all of our extra stuff, like, in the room just before it instead of actually in Freddy's room, because of the fact that strange things would happen in that room. And everybody knew, like, when you went in there, it would get cold. So when she said that it got cold and the light went out and, you know, and she was being attacked, it was pretty darn real. So, yeah.
Gosh, I love ghost stories. Yeah, I just love ghost stories. I guess I'm like, I guess you could say I'm fascinated by the paranormal. I've never had anything supernatural happen to myself, but if I was that woman, I would have 100% passed out in that room, and I would have never gone back to work. I would have always stayed in my house, locked myself in my room, bought 10,000 nightlights, and that would be it. But I believe Alex...
It's creepy because I had to work in that restaurant, you know, every day, every night, closing up every night. And every night, you know, I would experience something or be afraid to experience something. So...
Gosh, I need to... Better said I saw Matt's face and ran and said, oh god. I wish I could go to the Golden Horseshoe and have something like that happen to me. And of course, when I say that, when I go there, a chandelier is going to fall on my face and I'm going to die there. Of course, that's what's going to happen. But, I mean, yeah, that is incredibly terrifying. Alex, thank you for sharing your stories. Alex has amazing ghost stories. I think it was during Halloween time We had Alex tell a couple on a previous episode, and I think he also has some ghost stories up on his channel. I'm not 100% sure if they're still up, Alex. Do you still have those ghost stories videos up on your channel?
Yeah, I believe I have 3 parts to it.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
So if you guys want to hear more about more ghost stories from Alex, definitely go over to his channel in the description as always and find those 3 videos. Very interesting. Thank you, Alex, for sharing. We're going to go ahead and get to Wise Fiend's story. And I was trying to, while you were talking, I was trying to set up like some spooky lighting. I don't know if this is acceptable or not because it's so dark. But I'm going to read the story like this because it's scarier. And I'm going to put, let's see, there we go. This is probably weird, but this is how I'm going to tell Wise Fiend's story. He was here earlier, but sadly had to leave. I believe he said he was visiting Disneyland tomorrow, so he had to go to sleep early. But I will be reading his story right now. I really hope I don't butcher this. I'm very sorry. I'm terrible at reading things. But when I was 13, oh God, right off the bat, I don't know how to pronounce this. Okay. When I was 13, I lived in California. My house belonged to a middle-aged artist woman before my family owned it. She never mentioned anything about anything paranormal in the house. One night, I went out of my room to simply get a drink of water and go back to bed. After sipping some of my water in the kitchen, I heard a whistle from behind me, like a whistle to signal a dog. When I looked behind me, I saw my laundry room door open when it was closed when I had entered the kitchen. When I went into the laundry room, I saw nothing. Nothing at all. All the furniture was gone. Oh, all the furniture was gone. Oh, nothing at all. Oh, all the furniture was gone. Okay. When I went out to my family room, everything was gone. Finally, I saw a painting of the woman that originally owned the house. Then, the room suddenly filled with moths. Finally, I woke in my bed, afraid of butterflies and moths for the rest of my life. Thank you, Wise Fiend, for telling that story. Sam is asking, Matt, why did your light turn on in your room? The room behind me just lit up. Matt, the room behind you got its lights turned on. Oh my God! The lights turned on in my room. Spooky! Oh my gosh, it's finally happening. And then Avery has another story that he so graciously supplied to us. I'm gonna go ahead and read that from him. Matt, there is something behind you. If there is something behind me, then I love you all so much. Thank you for listening to us talk for an hour. Avery's story goes, rumor has it that years ago, a woman approached Disney. I'm not sure if this is true or not, or I'm not sure if any of these are true, by the way. These are just the stories that they supplied to us. So, Avery goes, rumor has it that years ago, a woman approached Disney saying one of her sons had been killed and that he had absolutely loved the Haunted Mansion. She wanted to spread his ashes in the mansion, but Disneyland, of course, said no. So the woman got on the ride and at some point dumped the ashes out anyway. Whether this part is true or not, I can only guess. But that's the story. Note, CNN reports that the family of a 7-year-old boy did indeed dump his ashes in Disneyland's Haunted Mansion ride. Weird stuff started happening after that. Once, as guests were getting off the ride, they reported to the cast member at Unload that there was a little kid running around the ballroom scene. So, the cast members sent security in to look, but they didn't find anything. Similarly, guests have reported seeing a little boy standing alone at the exit and crying. Some have said that when they asked him if he needed help, he acted like they weren't there. Some have even said he disappeared. Of course, by the time they tell a cast member about the boy, and the cast member goes to check it out, he's long gone. It gets even creepier. This part of the story I have confirmed with a friend who worked at the mansion. I mentioned these haunting stories and he freaked out, saying this had actually happened to him. He was glad to hear he wasn't going insane. Late at night, cast members will often only run one one stretch room because it gets so quiet. That means that between groups of guests, the cast member at load is all alone, just waiting for people. Well, one cast member was waiting for the next group of guests when she thought she heard a child laughing. She figured the next group had arrived, but no one ever showed up. Then she saw something move out of the corner of her eye. She turned to look, but didn't see anyone, so she put it off as her imagination. However, she again saw it, and again, but no one was ever there. Well, about this time, she starts feeling a cold chill and is getting kind of freaked out. All of a sudden, she feels someone put their hand on her shoulder. Of course, no one is there. She screeched and ran out and told management that she would never go back to work in the mansion again. Is this a copy? Is this a creepypasta? Did Avery just send me a creepypasta, Avery? If you did, thank you. Thank you anyways for sending all of your stories, but gosh.
You want to know something interesting about that story?
Yes, I do.
Well, there is a name for that little boy. His name is Timmy.
I thought you were going to say his name is Gullible, because...
No.
Okay.
No, there's actually a lot of Haunted Mansion cast members know about two ghosts. A woman in white and a little boy. And the woman in white, she doesn't have a name, they just call her the woman in white. But the boy, they call him Timmy. And he's haunted the mansion for at least maybe 10 years now. But the woman in white's been there much longer. So yeah, so that's kind of interesting because I used to hear stories when I was a cast member about Timmy. Yeah, so when you were reading the story, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a story about someone's experiencing Timmy. So it's kind of weird.
Interesting. Well, thank you to Avery and to Wise Fiend and to Alex, of course, for supplying their creepy stories, their paranormal stories. Like I said, I love this kind of stuff. If you guys really want, we can make this like a weekly thing or a monthly thing. It's up to you guys. I'm sure we'll eventually run out of stories, but yeah, if you want that, comment down below, tweet me, message me on Discord, doesn't matter, whatever you guys want. But yeah, like I said, thank you all to everyone who sent in their creepy stories, and if you want to hear more creepy stories next week, be sure to comment down below all your creepy stories. Oh yeah, Bryce just asked, how do we send you stories? Comment down below when this video goes live. You can put them in the Discord chat. You can email them to either of us, Alex or I. You can message them to me on Discord, message them to me on Twitter. Really, any way that you have to communicate with me, you can send them there and just say it's a ghost story for the show. So yeah, thank you everybody. We're gonna go ahead and move on to something not as creepy. Words with Walt. This week it was my turn to pick a quote, and I always pick the most generic quotes. I love generic quotes though. But yeah, this week's quote is, quote, "I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse," unquote. Alex, well, I'll go ahead and say what I think of this quote first. I picked this quote because, like I said last week, a lot of these quotes really do have something to do with the Disney company, whether it be present day Disney, whether it be how they're running their company today, whether it be past Disney company. I feel like this quote could be applied to modern day Disney, as could a lot of the quotes out there. I hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse. I guess you could say that Disney has sort of, the Disney company I should say, has sort of kept this going, because of course they have not forgotten about Mickey Mouse. He's the most popular Disney character, I'm sure. And his face is on the Pixar Pal Around, so that sort of solidifies Disney's, or Mickey's presence as a Disney icon. But yeah, this quote really speaks to me a lot during present day, and I will always relate these kinds of quotes to like the movie business, to how the parks are run today, just because those are the two things I'm most passionate about when it comes to the Disney company. I don't think Mickey Mouse has his own ride, except for the one that, of course, they're building at Hollywood Studios, the Runaway Railway. I believe that will be the first Mickey Mouse ride that is solely based around him. But Mickey Mouse is really my favorite Disney character. He definitely beats out Peter Pan, Alice, all the other Disney characters, just because he is Walt's creation, I guess you could say. It's really weird to think how Oswald was first, or came before Mickey Mouse, how Oswald came to be, how Oswald came to sort of fall out of the public eye, and then he got replaced by Mickey Mouse. I guess you could say it was all started by a rabbit. Just kidding. But Alex, what are your thoughts on this quote from Walt Disney?
Well, I love this quote. It has two different meanings for me. I mean, one is the most obvious, which is that when you think about the company and how successful it's become, and when you think about that, and then think about the fact that all of it began with just this little character, Mickey Mouse. You know, it's amazing to think that the success of that one character has created this massive worldwide organization that does nothing but focuses on making people happy. So that is the first thing that comes to mind whenever I see this quote. But the other thing, too, that this quote means is a bit more between the lines. And it's that when you think about Mickey Mouse, like, who is Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse is, as Walt described, an everyman's man. Mickey Mouse is he's a humble mouse. He's a humble person, and he represents everybody. And that's why Mickey Mouse doesn't live in a mansion. He lives in a small little house in California, and he's basically, what am I just trying to say here? Basically, Mickey Mouse is just such a humble character. And when you think about what Mickey Mouse is and what he represents, and then think about the fact that this whole organization behind him is like that, Mickey Mouse represents what the organization is, which is a humble organization that sets out simply just to make people happy. And yeah, so I was trying to think of a better way to word that, but yeah, so those are the two different meanings that it has for me. I mean, if you think about it, the Disney company is represented by Mickey, and they should reflect Mickey's values, and so that's something that the company should always be striving to maintain, is the values of Mickey Mouse. So that's what it means to me, and I think it's a really great quote.
This is one of my favorite quotes from Walt Disney, and Bryce says, "Epic Mickey takes this story on so well." I actually own both Epic Mickey games. I did not finish the second one, though. The first one was amazing, even though I did play this when I was on the younger side. At the time, I did think the game was amazing. Sims is not for me, but yeah. Words with Walt. Thank you all for joining us on today's segment. I wish I could remember the name of the person who suggested Words with Walt. Whoever suggested the name, big thank you. Comment down below so I will properly thank you with your name on stream. And one thing I did forget to mention when we were talking about the Incredicoaster and things I don't like about it. During the pre-show, like the pre-show video they have, Violet, or I guess like a news reporter, asks what the family thinks of having the Incredicoaster sort of named after them, having it modeled after them. Violet says, quote, "Sure, slap our names on an old ride." And that's sort of like really meta. Same with what Rocket says in Mission Breakout when he says that Disneyland is thematically inconsistent. I think that's what he says. And it's sort of like Disney knows that it's bad, and they're trying to laugh it off, play it off. Oh, hey, Violet said that it's bad. But, yeah, I just forgot to mention that. I don't like that. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Alex, any closing thoughts before we end the episode?
No. No. That was a good episode. It was fun.
I agree, this was a good episode. I hope you all thought it was a good one as well. And we want to hear all of your thoughts on what we talked about, whether it be the Disney News Rundown, all the bullet points that we went over, whether it be the Disney Fox deal, whether it be Pixar Pier, and for this week's poll, it is linked down in the description. This week's poll is thoughts on Pixar Pier. Love it, meh, not that bad, or hate it, in all caps, with an exclamation point. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Looking forward to see your votes on the straw poll. Avery says, I'm turning 17 on Monday, which is technically today, the day this video drops. So happy birthday to you, Avery, and thank you for sending us this creepy story. Yeah, everybody be sure to wish him. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I always do that. Everybody be sure to wish him a happy birthday in chat, in the comments. Happy birthday, Avery. And I think that's gonna wrap this episode up, unless I had something else I wanted to say. I don't think I do, but yeah, thank you all for joining us on this week's episode. Don't forget, there will be no stream next Saturday, but it will be moved, or the stream will be moved to the Wednesday, which is the 27th, Wednesday, 27th, the same time, 7:30 MST. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great big beautiful tomorrow.